art friends. Today is something a little different. This is something that the adventurous can try at home, but it might just be a demonstration. Yesterday in my church, we celebrated the triumphant return of icons, and as an iconographer, that day is extra special to me because for a period of time, icons were looked on by some as abhorrent, as not acceptable, and at a certain point in time later, on the Sunday of Orthodoxy that we commemorate, icons made a triumphant return, and it was asserted that icons are not only acceptable, but necessary. So, since obviously the iconographers of then could not go to Michael's and buy their acrylic paints, they had to use a more ancient method, which many cultures use, called egg tempera. So today, I'm going to show you how that works, and it's actually pretty fun. So, let's see. As the name states, we're going to need an egg. And this is one of the most fun parts, in my opinion. First thing we do here is, of course, get my water ready. We crack our egg, which is tricky, on this plastic table. There we go. And, which might surprise some people, we do not use the egg white, but only the egg yolk. This is a little bit slimy and gross. So first we have to get rid of all the egg white and all of it, because if we have any in there, it will chemically not work. I don't know why. I am an artist, not a scientist. Maybe one day I'll learn. Probably not. So then I'm going to take this water, being careful not to pop the sack. I'm going to rinse it off a couple times. This takes some practice. At this point, I've gotten pretty good at it. So if you're whoever is in charge of your egg supply is okay with you experimenting on an egg, this part is actually rather fun, if a little bit slimy. And we're going to take our rinsed egg and we're going to roll it on a paper towel. This is the part that's a little bit delicate. Sometimes it will stick, but I've been having pretty good luck today, so apparently my egg stash is a nice strong egg stash. Uh-oh. And it's stuck, which means I have to very carefully pick it up. Oh, yes, you see that. Now, occasionally, I will get a nice solid one that I can lift up and then poke with a pencil, which is a really cool thing. Happened for the last class. Obviously not for that. So there we mix that with about 1 part egg, 1 part water, and a little bit of either a dry white wine like Chardonnay, or ideally a white wine vinegar, white grape vinegar. I believe any would probably work. Now, usually this paint would be used on prepared boards. These boards require a lot of time and effort, and so they are naturally rather expensive. But today, for the purposes of this, we were working on paper, and if you use a cardstock, it actually works fairly well. So as you see right here, this is what we did in one of our classes, and I will work on it a little bit more right now. What we did was, with icons, we always go from dark to light. So with this icon, which was done by myself with the help of master iconographer Daniel Nicolai, who is my favorite living iconographer. Don't tell him, I'll get a big head. So this icon of Archangel Gabriel, when I worked on the face, I filled the entire face with this dark color called sunkir, or protoplasm. And then from there, I used ochre, and I made my first highlight. And ochre is this nice yellow color, all right? So I made my nice highlight with this ochre, and then I added some white to the ochre. White to the ochre. And then, of course, I had to do this red. Daniel likes to use this nice, bright, cinnamon red. And that's what really brings it to life. And then we add more and more white to the ochre as we add a second highlight and a third highlight and our final highlights. And we create this image. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of work, which is why you'll notice these are more expensive. But today, we're going to start simpler. Now, if you would like to work at home, you probably could take your chalk and grind it up into powder. In old times, they would have taken precious stones or rocks and grind them up into powder, which is a lot harder than grinding chalk. So if you could grind your chalk up and mix it with this mix that you have, you could create some white or some blue pigment. So I'm going to take my blue and that paint is enough to paint quite a lot of surface. I'm going to paint pretty much the whole thing. A lot of art in general, but iconography, is really getting to know your paintbrush, getting to know how to be confident with how the lines go, how to make lines that have life and direction and grace. Once this is dry, then we can put a cross on the top of it. And if we wanted to, we could really do lots of decorations. This art form is particularly satisfying because it has the history behind it. It has the ancient history. And so you are painting with all of the artists of yore. From there, we would use gold leaf to add gold to our icon. We would use very, very fine, very, very small paintbrushes to add the fine details. We would write a name on the icon. Mine is the Archangel Gabriel, who is my patron saint. And then once it was dry, we would cover it with either an olifa, an oiled mix, or with polyurethane varnish is what we use quite often right now. And you have an icon that will last for the next several thousand years. And we know this because we have icons from the last 1,000 or so years. Sadly, during the iconoclasm, many were destroyed. But I hope you've enjoyed this brief demonstration, and if you have any questions, ask them below, and I would be happy to answer them.